You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls, and today we're going to be previewing the Bulls versus the Denver Nuggets going down today, the second preseason game. We're also going to talk about Bleacher Report predicting DeMar DeRozan be one of the big names move this year, and the Chicago Bulls have been shut out of the annual GM poll around the NBA. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Batman, the Bulls play their second preseason game today. They face the Denver Nuggets, the reigning NBA champions. We saw some things that really did show that, this talk about changing the offense may be something realistic, right? Maybe something that is tangible. We got to see if they keep it up and if it goes into the regular season. Didn't see very much of Nikola Vucevic, DeMar, or Zach in the first preseason game. All of them playing the exact amount of minutes, a little over 17 minutes in that. Got to see a lot of G League players, a lot of Windy City Bulls in that game as well. When you look at this game today, what's something that you want to see in this game that you think it's important outside of people just not getting hurt, you Jack?
Hey, what Kobe say? More minutes. How many more minutes do you want to see? More minutes. Nah, honestly, bro, like I don't. It really is. I was joking about that before we started, right? I was like, what the heck are we previewing? It's a Chicago Bulls versus Denver Nuggets preseason game in which nobody's going to play. But realistically, I do want the things we want to see. I think we've talked about a lot, right? Like the aggressiveness on offense, seeing this team take on more of an offensive mindset as well while still being able to keep up the defensive ability. The tough part is, right, like, preseason don't mean nothing. Like in NBA preseason, does NBA preseason mean less than NFL preseason?
It depends on the team, really. I mean, it really does depend on the team because if you look at some of these preseason
you got
games,
some of them lower teams, they be playing them.
They're really playing and really trying to figure out their rotations, trying to figure out a play style. And I do think for the Chicago Bulls in that sense, right, they're still trying to figure out how this evolution is going to work. So I think rather than like the impact, the style of play that the Bulls play is important in that sense.
If we see a similar game from Kobe White, does Kobe White solidify his role as the starting point guard of this team? Or would you rather see them kind of, because this is supposed to be an open competition, right? Would you rather see them swap in a Javon Carter starting in that role? Would you rather see them swap in Ayo Dosunmu starting in that role to kind of see what that looks like?
I do think that we're probably going to see a different starting point guard either in this game or the game Sunday, just because I think we're going to see all three get a chance to start a point guard, or at least Kobe and Javon Carter. So it really depends. Like I know the Nuggets have played one preseason game so far. Did Murray play in that game? Do you know off the top of your head? I could check.
I do not know off of the top of my head. I'm not even.
He did play. He played
like I'm watching
minutes.
Around.
He played 18 minutes.
We got two preseason games against the Denver Nuggets.
Two back-to-back, Thursday and Sunday, both against the Denver Nuggets. The one Thursday, I believe, is in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken.
The one Thursday Sunday, is in Chicago, yeah.
The one Sunday is in Denver. So,
I like how Denver was like, we're not going nowhere.
I say, Javon Carter's starting this game. It's in Chicago. Javon Carter's probably going to start this game.
Hey, listen. I get it. I like it, Chicago kid. We got to stop with the in Chicago or from Chicago. We got to stop.
Well, have they done that for that? We got to see.
Ayo got it.
Yeah, Ayo got it, but
Ayo got from Chicago.
He did.
Ayo won at Illinois. You supposed to, okay.
Yeah, and then at that point too, you got to think by the time Ayo had took over the starting point guard, the Ayo hype was real, right? At that point in time, like, so.
Well, I think they was doing that from the beginning, though.
Well,
I think they was doing it from Chicago.
You don't get announced if you're not a starter. So
I'm saying when he because remember Lonzo got hurt and then he got into the game. I think they was doing from Chicago immediately.
Well, that's
and
what
then
I mean.
It was
took over from starting, but he still took over from Lonzo at that point. As starting point guard.
Listen, everybody can't get it, bro. You gotta win some games. You know what I mean?
Hey, Jabari Parker didn't get from Chicago. That should have told us something.
No, he did. I think
Jabari Parker did not get from Chicago. Bro.
Hey, bro, we gotta fight
maybe the first game.
No, I'm pretty sure Jabari Parker got from Chicago.
I remember there was one game.
Loud one.
I remember Jabari Parker. There was one game in Chicago, bro. And they did not say from Chicago. And I'm not saying he never got it, but it just one time stuck out my head, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Hey,
Jabari definitely didn't earn it from you. You can't have somebody come in and say, I don't get paid to play defense, and then say, oh, we're going to give you a from Chicago, bro. Come on.
Bro, we getting too many. That's the problem, bro. There's too many from Chicagos out there. Everybody can't get it, bro. Everybody can't get from Chicago. You have to be elite. Yeah, Derek set the standard, bro. That's all I'm saying, bro. I will say this though. For me, the biggest thing that I want to see in this Bulls Nuggets game is to find out who really does run the offense the best. And listen, if they play Jamal Murray, you'll get a real test, because I do think I would play Kobe, because I want to see how Kobe plays when he actually has to guard somebody. Mm-hmm. Because it makes life a lot easier when I got to guard Ty Washington versus I got to go out there. I got to be the facilitator. I have to score the basketball. I have to. He don't have to do all these things. Really, all we care about is the facilitation. But Kobe's a scorer, so scoring the ball, rebounding the basketball.
Even if he comes off the bench, he's gonna have to guard Reggie Jackson. So.
I mean, I can live with you guarding Reggie Jackson. Like, you don't even have to guard Reggie
True,
Jackson.
But have you looked at Reggie Jackson? Like, you got to give some credit for that. The fact that you got to stare across the court at Reggie Jackson for at least.
Do you really? Nah. If you do what the coaches tell you, you never have to look at his face. If you watch the waist, it tells you where the player is gonna go. You never have to look at
waist, bro. Is
that's how you play defense.
I know.
That's how you play defense, right? Like, I don't know. There's no pause on defense. Is there? Are we pausing defense now?
Bro,
we pausing defense.
You over here about watching why you giving him the D? Like, you gotta
okay, this guy here, bro. Hey, man, look. What? Hey, the Bulls are a defensive-minded team. There's a lot of waste watching going on this team. No, but realistically speaking, right, I would like to see Kobe kind of get that look when you actually have to defend somebody tough on the other end, and see if you can still maintain that level of play, because that's what I want my starting point guard to do. At a minimum, get the ball to Zach and DeMar the way that you did. I guess, right, like, the tough part is the Bulls are so efficient at what they do individually. We just need that piece to put everybody in the right place, right? Like, I know DeMar's going to be an efficient mid-range shooter. I know Zach LaVine's going to be an efficient three-point shooter off catch and shoot. I know Vooch is efficient in the post. It's just about getting them the ball in the right position. That's really all we're looking for from whoever takes over this point guard spot. If you can score the basketball, that makes it better for us.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think Kobe understands, like, at least from what he's talked about, right, is that he understands that you have to run the show. I mean, he still has to be him. He's going to get shots up, but you have to be able to run that show. And so, listen, I wouldn't be mad if they gave Kobe to start every one of these preseason games. If he's playing well and you're rolling with him and feeling it, cool. Why disrupt it? Now, Billy Donovan has already talked about that starting lineup isn't set, just to kind of set that expectation. But you know, if he does start Javon, I understand it. If he gives Kobe the start, continues to see if he's going to keep, giving the effort that he gave in that first preseason game, I'm not mad at that either. The thing that I want to see more than just who starts at point guard, though, is also, like, how do you use Vooch's facilitating a little bit better? Like, we saw a little bit of it. They didn't knock down shots, so that's not on Vooch, but I kind of want to see that a little bit more, especially if you're only be playing them 17, 18 minutes again.
I've said this many a times, bro. Like, Vooch is just gonna be Vooch. Like, what he's gonna give you.
We haven't let him be Vooch since he got here consistently. So I agree with you.
Well, he has been able to set up. Listen, he set up a lot of them shots. It's just when you setting it up to Pat Bev and Ayo Dosunmu, It makes your life a lot harder when it's like, you going to take that? And Pat's like, I'm pulling it.
No, yeah, Pat's pulling it. Like.
Hey, and I was like, I'm not pulling it.
No, the problem is I was like, I'm going to pull it. Nope, I'm not going to pull it.
I'm not going to pull it. Travel. How many times did we see that last season? Pump fake.
A lot.
Take off, dribble, travel. I was like, Io, you gotta stop, bro. Alex Caruso did that a lot too. I'm not gonna single Io out on that.
Yeah, you gotta give it like Caruso. It is what it is there, man. Next up, though, we're gonna be talking about Bleacher Report predicting a DeMar DeRozan trade for the Chicago Bulls this season. He's one of 5 players that they have predicted to be moved this season. But before we get into that, I gotta talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. Yeah. Snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Pat. So we got a Bleacher Report article here, which is always hit or miss. We always have fun with that. Where they have predicted.
We be slandering the companies that we work with.
Listen, I gotta be honest, bro. It is what it is, bro. It is what it is. They found me through Chicago Bulls Central. Thank God they didn't find me through Bleacher Report. Let's hope through Locked On. Let's hope that continues. I'm gonna have a meeting at Bleacher Report one day. They're gonna be like, "Hey, explain this clip to us."
Haize, why do you say that we suck?
Your writers suck. But with that said, they predicted 5 of the biggest names to get moved this offseason. At number 1, DeMar DeRozan. They have him listed here, and they have the teams to watch to trade for DeMar DeRozan: the Philadelphia 76ers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Los Angeles Clippers. What do you think about him being named as the number 1 player on this list, Pat?
It depends on what the Bulls do. They're a lot of these lists are just based off whether the Bulls are winning or losing or not, right? Like, listen, Julius Randle was number 1 on a lot of trade talks last season. Why? Because
traded though.
I mean, listen, but all of a sudden you start winning and it's a whole different conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's winning fixes everything. And if we're being 100% honest with where this Bulls team is at and what we want to see from this team moving forward, I can't say the Bulls wouldn't trade DeMar because that would be the logical thing to do if you're not going to get a contract done where you feel like he's the piece that's helping you move in the right direction. But if they're winning, DeMar DeRozan is not going anywhere. If they're winning, like, I'm gonna be real with you. Let's say, what's the deadline? We always, it's 55 games, something like that is usually the deadline now. Like, it's not really the second half of the season no more. If the Bulls have 30 wins by the deadline, DeMar DeRozan is not going nowhere.
So the trade deadline this year is February 8th at 2 p.m.
That feels so late. How many games will we have played by then? Who knows, right? Like, start counting. I mean, yeah, I don't know what that is. 48 games. It's past 42. I know that much. So, if the Bulls have a 550 record, DeMar DeRozan is not getting traded. Like, it don't even got to be. Oh my God, they're elite.
How they got there though? Like, because what if the Bulls have that record, but at that point we're talking about Kobe, Pat, both averaging 15, 16 points per game, and it looks like, hey, maybe they're ready to make that step without DeMar. Then what? I'm not saying that that's what I think. I'm just for the nature of the conversation.
I would almost bet you that they would just ask DeMar to either take a back seat, like they would write it out. They'd be like, take a back seat or come off of the bench and you just be you. Like, we'll let you be you 110, which I'm not going to, is my dream scenario. Pat Will and Kobe White are both averaging 15 points a game. Zach LaVine is elite. My dream scenario is the Bulls say, DeMar, listen, we don't want to disrespect you. We know you're a Hall of Famer. We feel like you're still an elite player, but we think that you would be better suited coming off of the bench because then you can just go for 28 whenever you feel like it.
By the way, as well, 54 games before the trade deadline.
You really counted it?
Yeah.
Shout out to my co-host, bro. This man be going in 54 games. So I was right. If the Bulls have 30 wins, no, what is that? What would that be? 30 and 24?
30 and 24. So that's 6 games above.
I stand by that. If the Bulls have 30 wins, they're not trading DeMar DeRozan. Like it don't, because I just feel like AK sees a level of success in this team and he wants the veterans to be a part of it so that whenever this magical moment happens, when the young dudes do step up and start to ascend, the veterans are still there to kind of guide them through that journey. That's his dream. That's his goal. And I'm not mad at it. I just don't think that it's very hard to do, because if Pat Will's averaging 15, if Kobe's averaging 15, somebody's not shooting the basketball. And I'm going to tell you this right now. DeMar DeRozan ain't never not shot the basketball.
Oh man, that's funny. I mean, listen, the thing is I hate to ever predict something like that, because it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Like, me and you have been very realistic over what it seems like this front office is doing, and I won't say that there's not a world in which they wouldn't trade DeMar DeRozan. I'm not saying that at all, but it just seems like this is a front office that's committed to their guys, and DeMar is a guy who's typically been him. Now, here's the question I want to ask you, right? DeMar, first season with the Chicago Bulls, averaged 20 shots per game. We know that came via Zach, Lonzo going out, taking a step back, things like that. Last season, went all the way down to 17.5 shots per game. His last two seasons in San Antonio, both at 15 shots per game. With what the little bit to none that we've seen so far, do you think that we see more of 20 shot per game DeMar DeRozan? Or do we see more of 15 to 17 shot a game per DeMar DeRozan? And that is a big difference. I think we kind of understate like how much less taking 3 shots per game is.
You know what DeMar DeRozan I want to see? The transition that Vince Carter and Jason Kidd went to. Now, Jason Kidd always was the facilitator that, I mean, even in Dallas, he was a god, right? But all of a sudden, we looked up one day and we was like, man, he's must taking a lot of 3-pointers. Like, Vince Carter could shoot the 3, but he was a guy that was like, I'm going to get to the bucket, I'm going to get to the mid-range, I'm going to get to the cup and finish. Like, the transition that happened when you just started seeing him Vince become like in Memphis, where he was only a 3-point shooter pretty much. Like, the fact that you pointed out every time DeMar takes more than 3 3-pointers, he's mad efficient. Yeah. Like, I really want to see that happen, because if that happens, then all of a sudden we get that next iteration of guys.
I don't be knowing, like, because you say, like, you act like Vince all of a sudden became this guy that was just shooting more. Like, Vince, only his first 3 years in the league, he took less than 5 3-pointers. He basically took 5 3-pointers every year after that, bro. So even before Dallas.
I mean, listen, well, Vince took 3-pointers, but Jay Kidd.
Oh, yeah, Kidd. Yeah,
but shooting no threes.
Yeah.
Vince would shoot the 3-ball, but Vince was shooting the 3-ball pretty much his only shot at the end as he got later in his career.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when you look at Memphis, so he took 5.5 shots per game, 6.5 shots per game his last season in Memphis. 4 of those were threes. That's a lot of that's a lot of percentage. You know what I mean?
Like,
shots,
most of his shots became 3-point shots. Like, he started becoming, and I'm not saying DeMar's at that point yet, but that would be the elite point where it's like, I got P. Will doing this, I got this guy doing this, and all of a sudden DeMar's taking 5 threes a game, knocking down 2 of them. Right? Getting a couple of mid-range shots. Like, I think that's the transition to me that AK wants to happen here in Chicago. That's why I believe he wants to extend it, because you keep the leadership quality, you keep the efficiency, you keep everything about DeMar DeRozan. We know he could be a mid-range guy till he's 45. He's not going to lose that shot. That shot doesn't have a ton of lift. That shot doesn't have, like, he's just going to be able to be like,
get there a little bit slower, but he's still going to take that shot.
The pump fake is just going to get slower. That's all that's going to happen, bro.
Bro, the thing that always is the magic about DeMar DeRozan, I got to give him credit for this. The fact that everybody knows exactly what he's going to do, and it still works.
Bro, he must be so mad. My favorite thing in the world is seeing people that get so mad because they like, we went over this in the game plan for so long, and I still jumped. Like, it's all we practiced this week, and I still jump. No, I don't believe that DeMar will, to finish this off, right? I don't believe DeMar will be traded. Who else was on the list? You said he was the top of the 5. Who else was on the list?
So also on the list. So he was number 1. Number 2 was Kyrie at number 2. Cat was number 3. Zion Williamson and Mariah Mills were number 4. And then you had Joel Embiid at number 5.
Zion Williamson and porn star.
Who made this list?
This list was created by
not the person, just the company.
Oh, Bleacher Report.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah. None of these guys are getting traded.
Greg Schwartz is the guy, is the writer, by the way.
Give it up, Greg. Give it up, bro. None of these guys. No, what? Who's it? Zion's getting traded, bro. You're not, first off, because here's the only 2 scenarios. Zion Williamson is hurt. You're not trading him. Or he's healthy and he's one of the most efficient players in the NBA. You're not trading him. Joel Embiid is getting traded. They'll fire James Harden before they trade Joel Embiid. Bro, they won't even cut him. They'll just fire him, bro.
You're fired.
They'll bring Trump in, bro.
Oh, wow. All right.
Like, what are we
on Locked On Bulls?
What are we Kyrie maybe, but like I doubt it. Kyrie usually has a great first 2 years everywhere he gets traded to. Year 3 is where it starts getting iffy. That's when he becomes Obi-Wan.
Cat's probably the only one I agree with on this list. I do think that's a possibility.
Where's he going?
It don't matter, bro. He's a big man that can score. There's always going to be somebody that's willing to take
shout out to Jordan Woods, but that has nothing to do with his basketball skills. I mean, listen, it was a long play joke. I'm glad you stuck around for it.
Bro, that one hit late there, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, so did Cat. Hey, man, we appreciate you guys for showing love, man. Let's get into this third topic where we talk about the Bulls. Shut up. I don't even have an ad read, bro. I just switched it over. Almost ended the show low key. Like, bro.
You definitely broke my brain once that one set in. I was like, hey, man. But anyway, so the annual GM survey came out, bro. And we know that this is something that comes out every year. They vote on everything. The Bulls got no player, no part of the Bulls, no young core, no coach. Last year, at least, Chris Fleming was voted as one of the best assistants that could become a head coach. Nothing. The only player that got any votes was Alex Caruso for best defender and best perimeter defender. Other than that, the Chicago Bulls shut out. They don't think we have one of the best young cores, none of the best weapons, didn't make any of the better move. Like, how does that make you feel as a Bulls fan, Pat?
Exactly how I felt all last season. I can't say that wrong. Who would you vote for? I wouldn't even vote for. I mean, that's it. Like, honestly, like, who would you vote for as being the best at anything?
I mean, you got to look at it. So some of the polls that include who will win MVP? Nah. I mean, listen, if Zach LaVine or DeMar gets an MVP conversation, shout out to them. But coming into that, wouldn't that? If you were starting a franchise today and could sign any player, who would it be? Nobody on the Bulls is making that list.
Nope.
Which player forces opposing coaches to make the most adjustments? Ain't nobody on the Bulls getting on that one. Off-season moves, the Bulls ain't getting on nothing for off-season moves or player acquisitions at all. Rookies and international, who will win the 2023-24 Rookie of the Year? Shout out to Julian Phillips on that one. Yeah, he didn't make.
I was going to say Ornella Biddum, maybe, or Bateem.
I mean, they're not going to play him.
Oh well, yeah, well, there you go.
Who was
Adama Sanago? No, all right, I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, who's the best defensive team in the NBA? Even though the Bulls are top 5, they didn't get on that list. Who's the best head coach in the NBA? Laughable. Who's the best motivator of people? Laughable. Who's the head coach that makes the best in-game adjustments? I will smack somebody's mama.
Pat Bev. Pat Bev's the best motivator on the team. He in Philly.
Who's the head coach that runs the best offense? Bulls are 24th in offense. Ain't on that list. Which head coach has the best defensive schemes? Listen, I would say this. He didn't get any votes here, but I can understand Billy Donovan getting a vote here just because we don't have we got pretty damn good defensive personnel. Never mind.
Hold on now. I give Billy credit where credit is due.
He comes up with a good
Zach
solid
LaVine,
defensive
DeMar
system.
DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic look like good defenders at times.
Yeah,
That says a
sure.
lot. That says a lot.
Yeah.
That's like getting Kyle Korver to defend, bro. Like that's Tom Thibodeau-esque, bro.
Which team is the most fun to watch? I think the Bulls going to be pretty fun to watch this year, but you can't. They're judging that off last year. Which team has the best home court advantage?
Excuse me.
Which team will have
Bulls
the
got
most?
a pretty good home court advantage. Nah, they don't. Never mind. Shut up.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Bucks.
No,
Probably
only
Bucks.
for Zion, because I'm sure he gets distracted by
Zion
Portillo's all the
Williamson
time.
and porn stars.
He does like beef.
All right, it's time to go. Wrap it up, Pat.
Follow us on
Let's
everything
go.
at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat The Designer.
You can follow me at CEO.
It's got to be a little beefy, right?
We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the Bulls preseason game. This has been Locked On Bulls.
That might be the one. That might be the one. That might be the one.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. That one might be the one, bro.
Oh, man. We have officially been let go.
We got to sit on letter in.